Okay, I am going to start this. I'm not going to finish it. It is 9:40 at night. It is Tuesday. I've worked all day, but Mr. T-Rex guy went through on my request and helped me with this story, Nobility in Darkness. And he left some comments here, you'll see. We're going to go through that and we're gonna see with he and we're gonna see if we can fix this story. So I don't even remember when I wrote this. When was it? Let's find out. Let's see. 2021. So it's been 4 years since I wrote this. Cool. There is going to be certainly filtering in this. So that is the first thing that I'm looking for. All right, let's see how quickly I can do this. Propaexidio clawed its way out of the inventorium, razor blades and barbed wire, cold black steel glistening with a shimmer of wet blood. I'm just reading this aloud because this is how I edit. Cathedral towers lined with laughing gargoyles. Laughing? I don't like that. We're going to change that right there. Not laughing. There we go. Broken-faced gargoyles and flying buttresses were strewn with bodies. With bodies. With bodies. It's already a pretty long sentence, so we're just going to shorten that up. With bodies. And then add that, tweak this to unfortunates of the last world raided. Dolls impaled on spires of twisted iron reminded the denizens reminders. Okay, dolls impaled on spires. Why did I say that? That's kind of weird. Hmm. I'm just gonna cut that. Just reminders to the denizens of the warp. Of the warp, that with enough fear the spine of the universe can be shattered. I don't know about that. With enough fear the spine of the universe can be shattered? Broken. Arcs of black lightning lashed the massive vessel's hull as the ocean, as the warp. Arcs of black lightning lashed the massive vessel's hull as the. I should zoom in on this for you. As the seas. Okay, we're just gonna call that a sentence there. Arcs of black lightning lashed the lashed the vessel's hull. Lash the vessel's hull. I was going up because I was thinking about tweaking that first paragraph to edit the size of the vessel, but I think I can do that later on. That's something you can do in writing. You can edit time. You can rewrite the past. And so, and also I have a massive advantage. You already know what a ship of this size looks like roughly, so I don't have to do a whole lot of work there. The warps, the seas, the warps seas were torn asunder and Propaexidio forced its way, not forced its way, ripped itself into real space. Okay, I like that. A swath of 1,000 bodies hanging on the ship. A swath. A swath of let's say this. 1,000 bodies hanging on the ship's ragged, hanging from the ship's ragged exterior were turned to ash in an instant. Okay. This is redundant here, as the breach back into the material was made. Already covered that, Del, my friend. Lord Navasali, commander of the Prope Exidio, lurched from his throne and cast his gaze over the bridge. Okay, that's okay. Every one of his slaves' heads remained down and focused on their workstations. Remained down and locked to their workstations. He grinned. His smooth, pale lips. Okay, well. Smooth, pale lips spread, revealing teeth filed to points. Okay. Let's see. They shimmered in the light, in the burnt orange light of hundreds of dim glow globes floating about the enormous space of the bridge, and candles lining the walls. Where are we? Navasali asked, his tone. Okay, this is not good. Asked. Where are we? Navasali asked, his tone smooth and calm, even though he was raging. Okay. Asked. His hands, his clenching his fists. This was not the right system. Had the warp played a trick on them? Where was the fleet he was supposed to have joined? Where was the rest of the fleet? Where were his brothers, Hivolo and Gestern? Okay, patience, patient. The voice slithered into his head as it always did, cold and sinuous. Where are you, Gazed? I was. Navasali saw through the sorcerer's eyes for a moment, either because the boy wanted him to. Boy? Yeah, we're gonna change that. Either because the psyker wanted him to, or because he was still learning how to control his abilities. It was hard to know which it was these days. Which was which these days. He'd grown in strength over the past decade at such an astounding rate. Okay, yeah, decade, boy, what was he, like 5? For him to be a boy, he'd have to be like still in his teens. So even if he was 8 and he's 18 or 9, 19, like, well, we found him when he was 9, impossible. Okay, I think I was inspired to put that in there by a Peter Fahavari story where the Night Lords go to some planet and get like street urchins. I don't remember what that one was called, but I'm pretty sure that's why I did that. Okay, as his skill to touch and channel the tides of the warp grew, so did his penchant for depravity. What Navasali saw made his lips twitch. I can change that. That's a little filtering there. Okay, so we'll just say, we're just going to paragraph this. Navasali's lips twitched. Gezed was in um, a room somewhere deep in the bowels of the ship, a place Novoseli had never been and almost certainly never would. There were chains, some still moving. There were chains. Some were still, some moved. Was in a room somewhere. Okay, there we go. That's why I like using Google Docs for some of this stuff. Okay, update. What? Highlights ready? Okay, whatever. Gazette was in a room somewhere deep in the bowels of the ship, a place Novoseli had never been and almost certainly never would. There were chains. Some were still, some moved. Gazette cast his view about the room, channeling the scene straight into Novoseli's mind. Here, now, Novoseli scolded. And show me no more of whatever you're doing. Okay. Was in his... Gazette was in his 50s. I'm changing this. Changing it. Gazette was in his 50s. But looked 3 times that. His body was so thin and frail that seen from the side or back in his usual robes, he was often mistaken for a for a dying man. Adding to the illusion were the 3 boys, were the 3 always with him. Okay, always with him. Adding to the illusion were the 3 young men always with him. Always at his side to lend a supporting hand or shoulder he could lean on. Changes this character drastically. And frail, F-R, frail, okay. The quartet glided onto the bridge, all wearing black robes. I'm going to change that. The black-robed quartet glided onto the bridge. Gazed walked with a cane, with a staff of gnarled wood, and that's not how you spell gnarled. Gnarled wood and black. There we go. Gnarled wood woven with black iron bands. He pushed the cowl of his rough knit hood off his head. Don't need to say back. I mean, how else would you push that? Can I push this off the side of my head? Can I push it forward off my head? No. My lord, where are we? What is this place? I thought we were well on course. I thought we were on course to rejoin my brothers. Now Sally cast a hand at the view of space. Before them sat an orb of swirling blue. Cast a hand at the view. Screen? Is that a thing? Is that a view? Let's ask Gemini. In Warhammer 40k, do starships have windows or view screens? Warhammer generally have view screens and other advanced displays. So Imperial ships have windows sometimes. Okay. Cast a hand to the view screen. All right. Before them sat an orb of swirling blue and green with splotches of red and white, a tranquil-looking planet. That's telling. You make up your decision about it.
Ah, yes. I apologize, my lord, but you could say that this, this, this place called to me. This place
Called to you? We're here because of you?
Be not angry, my lord. Please take the moment to hear me.
We will be with your brothers in due time. They'll never know the delay. They'll not be kept waiting. I've seen this. This is shown to me. It was shown to me. The trio of Gazette's dark-robed minions laughed. Only the mouths of their faces could be seen in the soft, rust-red glow of the bridge's light. Explain.
Supplies are dwindling. Ammunition is at an all-time low.
And your men, here's a little story change here, grow restless. It's been too long since they were able to express themselves. I'll talk about why I'm making that change there. The trio, all right, let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me just add a note here real quick. QQQ, that's what I do if I want to find something. Da, 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 da. Okay, so this right here is T-Rex said, this is the part that he made his original discrepancy comment about. By this time, nobility should have mostly been an afterthought. I didn't know this about the Night Lords, so I'm learning. As they were made up of murderers by this point, it reads like he's disassociated from the reality of his legion becoming monsters that enjoy the carnage as to, right here, reality of his legion becoming monsters that enjoy the carnage as to the necessary evil they once were. Okay. So, I'm tweaking this to honor that. If they are monsters and the entire Night Lord Legion is murderers and worse, then this kind of thing, I already mentioned up here something about their past raid, Cathedral's Tower, unfortunates of the last world raided, but I don't tell you when that was. So it's been too long since they were able to express themselves. Even I am running low on toys. There we go. Echo. The trio spoke as one, echoing.
Toys.
Gazette continued. In the last battle alone, we lost 13 rhinos, 6,000 souls, untold thousands of gallons of fuel for gallons of fuel, and that's not mentioning the food situation. The food, your people have they're turning on each other for food. They always have in dire times. Nav is Solly chuckle. Yes, true. Yes, of course. But your armies are dwindling by the hour. And I assume this brings us as to why we're here. Navasali waved a hand at the planet sitting before them. What is this? Where are we? Where are we? He's already asked that multiple times. We'll just go, what is this? All right. It was midsummer in Yeni, the largest city on the planet at Taliko. Boys and girls ran in the streets, playing games. Blue and white. Let's set the stage here. White skinned. Blue and white. And dark skinned children. That's not how you spell children. Ran in the streets playing games, tagging each other with painted sticks, chasing after one another and their pets. That's human and Tao laugh. There we go. So we've got blue and white and dark skin. Dark skin color covers your heart of Africa. I mean, black is black, and all the way to slightly every color. It's dark. It's like I don't need to sit here and say you had a little bit of Asian in there and you had something like it's white, light. I could even say light, blue and light, and dark skinned children ran. There we go. And then I go on to say human and Tao laughed, their voices mingling into a song of joy. Domed homes made from materials the humans did not understand dotted the valley. Men and women worked a half-mile away at the town's river. All right, I could never have imagined such a life, said Janie, coming up behind her husband as he baited his fishing line. When I stopped to think about our life, now my mind reels. Reels, he's fishing. I don't know if I intended to do that. Halum touched his wife's arms. He turned and looked up the hill to where the city sat. Okay, that's filtering. So I need to change that. Let's see. He looked up the hill. Of Yeni sat its top, home to he looked up the hill, the city of it. I don't know. I don't need to do that. I can just actually cut this all out. He looked up the hill. Home to 10,000 humans and twice as many Tao, Yeni had gone from a village of a few dozen families to the city it was now in the span of a month. The Tao had arrived half a year back. Too complicated. Arrived 6 months ago on the primitive world. Let's change that. 6 months ago. Oh, whoopsie. 6 months ago, the Tao arrived on the primitive world of Taliko, comma, and in half a year let's change that. Had 6 months ago, the Tao arrived on the primitive world of Taliko. In half a year, they transformed it from a planet of simple fishing. Transformed it from a planet of simple fishing villages to a seed that they said would become a hub of industry. Would grow into, I'm going to say seed, it needs to do something. And what do seeds do? They grow into a seed that would grow into a hub of industry. The first thing that Tao had done was bring the people of Talico together, using machinery and transports of the like the Talico people had never imagined in their wildest dreams. I never imagined in their wildest dreams. The Tao relocated entire communities, consolidating the humans into cities. Cities that, before the Tao arrived, never existed. Almost overnight, hundreds of homes were raised. Not almost, just overnight. Overnight, hundreds of homes were raised. The Tilico people had previously lived in domes of mud and woven reeds with thatched roofs, honoring the Tilico, the Tao kept the same shape, but the structures, kept the shape, but built the new homes from materials that were stronger. They gave the humans amenities they had never. They gave the humans amenities they never, like running water, heat, and cooking machines, and cooling machines. Yeah, it's all happening so fast. Halum turned his attention back to baiting his fishing line, his hook. At least that was something he still understood. Janie, watching the children play, said, "I wish we were more like them. They've taken the change so easy." Halum cast his line into the slow-moving river. "We were like them once. We were like them once. What happens as we age?" The little dell in there. Janie sat next to her husband and watching his line bob in the water. "What do you mean? How come it gets harder and harder to understand things as we grow older?" Janie shrugged. "Maybe because we've learned up until this point has worked." I don't know what I'm doing here. What's his name? Halum nodded. Our minds say, why bother with anything new? Something like that. Janie smiled and lay her hand on Halum's shoulder. "Tau!" Navasali spat. "You've brought us to a Tau-infected world?" He wanted to rip the throat from one of Gezid's grinning minions. Grinning goons. The thought drew his eye to the trio of supplicants, and he grinned. Why were their mouths so wide and always smiling? Gezid's words were eels slithering their way into the corners of his lord's mind. "Get out of my head!" Do that again while I'm in this mood, and it'll be the last thing you ever do. He locked eyes with the boy and almost thought he was going to be dared. The psyker, here's my psyker, and thought he was going to be dared. But Gezed bowed his head and took a trio of steps back. His entourage moved with him, drops of oil chasing the main. Stupid. This planet's called to me as we plied the warp. I saw it, a beacon of bounty, a ripe, echoed the trio. Ripe fruit, luscious and full, ready to be taken, and so easy, so simple. There are no defenders to speak of, nothing that would pose any real challenge for my lord. What is it then? A hub, warehouse, storage, the trio whispered. Gazette giggled. The blue-skinned Tau are turning this planet, this whole system, in fact. This whole system, in fact. Into a center of commerce. I see them developing the planet as you see. Into a thriving hub of food production. I do not know how long they've been here, the trio shuddered. Not long. Less than a year, I am almost certain. They brought the many disparate groups of humans together to work in cities. Soon they'll bring their Guevesa. Traitors. Navasali scowled. He was sickened that human and Xenos could ever call each other allies. He was called traitor. That humans and Xenos could ever call each other allies. He was called a traitor. True, but that was different. He wasn't siding with freaks and abominations. Period. He and his brothers had seen the truth of the universe and joined the side that would win in the end. I won't touch their filth. Navisali dropped back to his throne, the ceramite of his armor and the plasteel of the massive chair grinding on impact. The Tau create abominations, strange devices. I'll not allow on my ship. Oh no, my lord. No, of course not. Which is why this planet is perfect for our needs. That's something. Would he care about the Tau's drones and their mechs and all that? I don't know. Let's ask Gemini. Would a Night Lord band use Tau weapons and gear? It is highly plausible. They're scavengers and raiders. It's high quality and versatile. The rule of cool. I wonder if is Gemini right here, but they would. Necessity is the mother of heresy. Practicality over purity. Huh. I get maybe Navasali doesn't want their stuff. I won't touch their filth. Okay, that's fine. Oh, no, of course not. Which is why this planet is perfect for our needs. Which is why this planet is so perfect for our needs. A curious look. The coming Guevesa, the trio shuddered, shook by a spasm of shared ecstasy. Oh, yes, the Tau wished to train the populace to fight at their side. Aim to sculpt the populace into loyal minions. So, the Tau aim to sculpt the populace into loyal minions, and to that end they're bringing thousands of traitor filth here to mingle with the natives. Who better to help these simple peasants than their own kind? Than their kin? Who better to turn their kith and kin? That was on my mind from something I heard earlier today, so why not use it? Who better to turn the primitives into a peaceful... Who better to turn the primitives into a people that fully embrace the Tau as friends and benefactors, than those humans who already do. In preparation for this, the Tau have brought great stores of human equipment to the planet. A smile began to fill Navasali's face. He leaned forward on his throne and cupped his chin in one hand. Interesting. Okay. Began filling. Okay, Rusava, where are we at? We're a page. Oh, okay. Rusava activated a panel screen and a large semi-transparent map appeared. He swiped until he landed on the one he wanted, and with a gesture zoomed in on a particular area showing a city with a river nearby. He zoomed in on an yeah, no shit, it's a particular area, on an area showing a city with a river nearby. Things are progressing beautifully. Natu patted Rusava's shoulder. They are indeed. I'm always astounded with the humans. With humans. He paused, searching for the right word. Their whole what is this? Is that did I make this up? I think I did. Their whole Seka Shalumo, a phrase that could be translated into something akin to one's ability to change with the seasons. Oh boy, sounds like town nonsense. To one's ability to change with the seasons. This is more dumb sounding. Alongside the seasons. Sounds like some real town nonsense. Or, in this case, change with the flow of their entire lives. Or, in this case, change with the flow of their entire lives. In 6 months, they've gone from knowing nothing beyond their simple homes. Mud huts. And little lives to learning about a galaxy full of sentient species. The children especially, said Natu. Yes, indeed. I sometimes think there's almost nothing their minds would refuse. They grow a little stiff. Okay, this is... this is foreshadowing. I need to change this right now because I already see where I'm going to take this and how I'm going to tweak it, and this is going to be a key to that right here. I sometimes think there's almost nothing their minds would refuse. There's no... No reality their minds would refuse to embrace with enough time. It's a little bit on the nose, but it's okay. They grow stiff as they age, more set in their ways as the years go, but even the most rigid of them are far, far more malleable of a mind. Are far, far more malleable of mind than so many of the other races we've encountered. So many other races. The final shipment of Guevesa armaments arrived earlier this morning and has been situated just as you instructed. Natao pointed to a large building on the map. The doors to the storage facility are open. Now it's only a matter of time before one sees it. And the questions begin. Perfect. Rusava flicked the screen in a full-color view, replaced the map. The oblong building in question was seen from 100 feet in the air. The drone began a sweep. Okay. In the distance, Tau and human children continued their games. It was almost a guarantee that by the end of the day, the humans would see the warehouse full of things that were unlike any of the Taus, and questions would come. It was all part of the strategy to make them citizens of the galaxy. Questions the Tau had answers to. Alright, the dark room was lined with candles that flickered a little too slow. Wavered a little too slow. In the center of the room, a large piece of paper was spread. The paper was covered in black charcoal lines that depicted a city of domed homes and oblong buildings. Gazed sat at the edge of the paper, his hands moving between his trio while his body shook. At the center of the paper, his hands moving between his surrounding trio while his body shook. Okay, his whipcord arms flicked to one of his minions, then another, back and forth, lingering on one for a moment, then to another for a breath. Images flooded his mind, and he channeled the scene to the three, his hands on one, then another, the vision coming to him in bits and pieces. Here he saw water, and his hands moved to, stood at the center of the paper. In the center, on, at, the center, in, on, at. Okay. His hands moved between his surrounding trio while his body shook. And his body shook. His whipcord arms flicked to one of his minions, then another, back and forth, lingering on one for a moment, then to another for a breath. Images flooded his mind, and he channeled the scene to the three. Okay. His hands on one's head, then another, the vision coming to him in bits and pieces. Here he saw water, and his hands moved to the up on the center on his left. The hooded figure began drawing in with charcoal. And here, domes, mini domes. His hands moved out, sitting in front of him, and charcoal dashed across the paper, putting the scene down. Almost as soon as the drawing began, new image flashed in his mind. To his mind, and his hands moved to the final move of the three. Black lines drew a long rounded warehouse. There, Navasali pointed. Focus there. A fresh bout of spasms surged through Gazed's frail body, and he wheezed, pointing his attention where his lord had instructed. The sorcerer's eyes were closed, his mouth open, and the flow of images poured into him. He was watching the planet and the room with his body. In the room, holding his body. Navasali and the trio at the same time, which begged the question, where was he? Both scenes filled his mind at once in a dreamlike state where multiple conflicting things can be true all at once. Okay. Gazed's hooded trio sat motionless until their master touched them. When he did, their hands dashed across the paper, bringing to life the scene the sorcerer imparted to them. They drew alone at times and sometimes as a unit. The sorcerer whipped a hand to the acolyte in front of him, and the one to his left. Tremors shook him. And the two he touched began to draw. Their hands, wrapped around the lumps of charcoal and rictus grips, danced around each other, fleshing out the image of a warehouse. Its doors open. From one to the other, Gazed moved his hands. and the image took on further shape and clarity. He was a mad conductor, a conduit through which awful energies poured, directing his trio of artists. Would you look at that? They have rhinos and munitions to arm a full battalion, maybe more. Navasali watched the quartet work a little longer and nodded as a plan took shape. Very good. Very, very good indeed. He spun, his cloak of skin flapping wet against his ebony armor. His heavy boots crashed across the floor as he launched himself into every step, full of awful intent. This was going to be a bloodbath. He clicked his vox to first squad, second and third, then clicked to talons 3 and 4. Meet me in the war room post-haste. Once they'd all replied, he switched channels to the bridge. How long until night falls on that city? The voice of Hosef came back, his voice raw and broken due to his vocal cords being a mess. 2 years back, he coughed during a speech Navasali was giving and had never due to torn vocal cords. 2 years ago, he coughed during a speech Navasali was giving and had never spoken the same way since. 3 hours, my lord. Not long, the commander thought. Next he voxed. The bridge is won. Keep us right above that. He spat the word Tau City. And lower Prope Exidio, as far as the planet's gravity will allow. I want to be able to hit them as fast as possible. Neole sat in her meditation chamber. Okay, do Tau have psychers? Do Tau have psychers? The answer is a nuanced no, but yes. Okay. Okay. So she wouldn't. Got it. So either change this to like some Guevesa human. I think I'll pause here so I can think about this, but I have an answer. I'll tell you what my first answer is. Here's the second answer. I use some other thing. She's not a Tau, not a blue skin fish face Tau. She's one of the other creatures that they've pulled into their midst. Maybe a human. That's an option. Is this the first time we've seen her? N-E-A. Oh, okay. So she shows up a few times. So that would be an easy fix. That would probably be the easier fix, and it might be the one that I do. So I just describe her as not being I change your name to be something more human-like, and she's a human that they brought there to use for the psychic abilities. Or what I was thinking of doing is having her just be like, there's a bunch of screens and she's using drones and it's a technological answer as opposed to psychic. If anybody watches this between now and when I record the next one in maybe like 24 hours, if you want to leave a comment, by all means do so. But yeah, if you have an opinion about which way it should go, tell me which way you like and I'll go that way if somebody does. Otherwise, I'll probably just go because it'd be so much easier, I'll probably just go it's some other human. And it would actually, I think I'll go that way regardless. Yeah, it's some human that they brought there specifically for the use of her. It'll be some female, her psychic abilities.